And now the shipping forecast issued by the Met Office on behalf of the Maritime and Coast Guard Agency at 1130. Go! At 1130.
They've done it! They've done it! It's Maguire Crew! They've done it again, this team!
Grimsby are heading back to the Football League.
Love it.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's a bit of an odd one doing it on a Friday night, but thank you for joining us and thank you for listening in wherever you are. We are just less than 24 hours away before we all make the epic trip down to Colchester. It's going to be a bit of a good one, I hope. Bruce, how are you feeling? Nice to see you.
I'm all right, mate. Thank you. You too. Always all right on a Friday. Not too happy that I've had to go in my wardrobe and look for my little hoodie, but it's getting chilly up here. I don't know about with you.
Yeah, do you know what? It's not too bad. Fresh is probably what your dad would say. It's a bit fresh. Let's have a look. See this. Rob's going to join us in a second. He's I don't know if it's us or something else. Let's have a look.
Cranking up the laptop.
Hey, something though. Mine's going a little bit off and on at the moment. It's starting to flicker. I've never had that before. But that's all right. It'll be good. Well, I guess, have we done anything since the last? We did, didn't we?
We did the Twitter space, didn't we, or whatever you call it? That was quite good.
Yeah. What did you think of the game then? Now you've had time to reflect on it.
I just think it was not what I said on the night. Really, I've not really changed too much what I think. I just thought it wasn't a great performance, but I'm not too bothered in one result or one performance because, by all accounts, the game before that we were really good at Newport. So no, it's all right, and I'm quite quietly confident tomorrow's afternoon. Sorry.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting tomorrow. They're one of those clubs that are a bit, basket casey in a way, aren't they? But
yeah, they're another struggler, aren't they? I hope they don't raise the game against
now the big boys are in town.
Yeah, the big boys from the top half of the table. Speaking about that, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
I watched the latest couple of Wrexham episodes tonight. I thought somebody said it was only 8 episodes, but it's not. It's gone on, and they're only about 8 or 10 games into the season. So,
are they?
Yeah, and they've just gone to their first game away at Maidenhead, and they've travelled over from the States, and they got beat, which was great.
I always remember that. Good evening, Rob. Thank you for joining us. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. We were just talking about the Welcome to Wrexham documentary that's just been brought out. I don't know if you've seen any of it, but we're waiting for our masterpiece at the end of it.
You keep glitching, so I get half the conversation and I'll miss the other half.
I mean, I'll be honest. That's most of the podcast anyway. That's
just the way we speak, isn't it?
Oh well, hopefully it'll fix itself. It seems to be clipping in and out. Is this going to be Chris Hargreave all over again, Bruce?
What, match abandoned after 10 minutes?
I think that was because he had Yeovil Town on the phone waiting to do his deal for the manager's job, isn't it? Oh no, he just done, hasn't he? He just got approved.
That's right,
Rob,
it was the same day.
Oh yeah, it was, wasn't it? Rob, thank you so much for joining us. For anyone who doesn't know, so Matt Newton, who is about to go on his honeymoon, he told me earlier, does an incredible charity in memory of Richard Broadley, whose birthday is today, believe it or not. One of the really fantastically fanatic Mariners fan who sadly passed away far too young, and in memory of him, we try and do our best to raise as much money as possible, including press ganging in any former Mariner legend that looks even remotely interested, and Rob is one of the worthy participants as well. I mean, Rob, it was I guess that firstly, I mean, thank you, and hopefully you can hear this. But I guess it was a relatively short time at the club. But what were your overriding memories of your time? I guess under Russell Slade, wasn't it mostly, and being at Grimsby?
Yeah, I recall correctly, I came in late in the first season. I think I played a pre-season game against Scunthorpe on a Friday night or something, and then signed on the following Monday from Stockport with Russell. So I think Russell took over that summer. Obviously, I think he turned up on day one of pre-season with very few players. It was a bit of a hectic pre-season for everybody. A lot of new players, and then the first season for me, to be brutally honest, didn't go well at all. Then I got injured after the second game of the season. First home game of the season, I got injured. Out for, I think it was 12, 14 weeks. And I never really recovered from that. Played a few in-house games, which are called reserve games back then. And it wasn't until probably the last 6 games of the season that really I started to show what I could do on the football pitch, because before that, it just wasn't clicking, and I'll be the first one to say that it wasn't at the level that it needed to be for where Grimsby Town were at that point. Excuse me. So, but then Russell showed faith in me in the summer. He asked me to come back to do one more year. I think I fractured my cheekbone last game of the season, so I was out for a little bit with that. But pre-season, I came back with probably a different mentality, a different mindset. I moved across. I bought a house, which helped. And then the second season, for me personally, couldn't have gone any better. As a collective, yes, we could have got over the line in the playoff final, but personally, week in, week out, I was playing well. I was doing the right things. I was scoring goals. I was leading, which was a good thing for me. So a complete contrast from season 1 to season 2. And I think as footballers, people keep saying, "Well, what happened?" I honestly don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those things that it just clicked for me, and I think I played the vast majority of that season, every game, week in, week out, Saturday, Tuesday. A decent cup run that second season, but everything just clicked, and thankfully it did for me as an individual.
The first season, Rob, was it? The club were on the back of successive relegations. They've been in the Championship 2 seasons before. Did that sort of make you think twice about coming to Grimsby, or did Russell sort of sell his plan? Because, and then I think second part of the question, just bearing on what you've said, there were a lot of new players that first season, and I think your form probably, the team was hit and miss, wasn't it, throughout the season? Really, we had some good results and we had some not so good results, and I think it was just the club needed a period of consolidation, didn't it?
Yeah, very much so. I think you can get into a spiral where it becomes a loss is just the norm, and I think that probably potentially came apparent in the 2 seasons before that. And Russell had to change something to try and get them back on an even foot and stepping in the right direction again. To answer your first question, I think it was Russell. Russell is a very charismatic individual, and I got along with him straight away. He said the same things that I would say. He thought the same way that I would think. So I think I spent 3 or 4 days of pre-season with the group as a whole before I played that game, and obviously signed the following week. But his enthusiasm for the game, his enthusiasm to do well, his enthusiasm to take the club back forward from where it was, is I think the thing that sold it to me to come across. And then obviously we talk about the ups and downs in the first season, and we can all make excuses. I just wasn't good enough first year. I just wasn't. I was nowhere near where I needed to be. Physically, mentally, probably wasn't anywhere near where I needed to be in that kind of surroundings and in that environment. And I'm not looking for excuses of anybody, and not going to blame anybody else. It was solely down to me. And then, as I said, I don't know how it flipped from the one season to the next, because the second couldn't have gone any better.
The personnel weren't that different in season 2, were they, to season 1? There were a few changes, but the main players that were there the previous season, weren't they? Really, the likes of yourself, Reddy, who was in the midfield, Paul Bolland,
Yeah.
You know, players like that. They unless I'm mistaken, Boland was there the first season, was he? Or not? Did he come second?
Parky
No,
as well, wasn't there?
I think Paul Boland came a second.
He did he? Sorry, yeah. There weren't too many changes, but Parkinson was there, wasn't he, Alex? Yeah.
Yeah. Then we brought in Gary Jones in the second season. Tom Newey came across. Kieran Turner came across from ex Tottenham. Milden Hall came in the building from down south. So there was some characters that came into the team and into the squad in the dressing room that second season that wasn't really there the first season. But yeah, I think 7 or 8 left first after the first year, and then obviously 7 or 8 left after the second year. So as well as Russell. So, but no, you can talk about characters and this, that, and the other. But I think first and foremost, you've got to look at yourself.
If we take it right back, sort of, we've darted all over a little bit. But how did you? Has your family got a history in the game? Did you just sort of take it up as at school or with mates or whatever? How did you sort of get into football? Did you go and watch it?
My parents have never kicked the ball in their life. My middle brother doesn't play football. Little sister not interested in football. Youngest brother a little bit interested in football. So for me, just completely different. It was something I grew up to love when I was a kid. I'd go and play on the backfield where I lived and spend, like most young kids, 7, 8, 9 hours on the backfield and play 20 aside and 25 aside with the goalpost and whatnot. Go on my own, play on the road. We used to play a game called Gatey, it was called. So you look after your own gate where your house was, and you'd go and score on other people's. So you'd spend hours and hours and hours just playing football. Then I went to the local team. Obviously started at the local team playing centre forward, believe it or not, and then it just took off from there, to be brutally honest. So I went as a kid. I was probably playing 6, 7, 8 months, and then I went to Man United. I went to Nottingham Forest. I went to York City. So it gets you, and we all know that it gets you. It gets you from day dot. But when the likes of those clubs are looking at you and want you to go down and spend weekends and evenings and play for them and whatnot, it just enthuses you more. And that's how it was. I think the people who know me really well, I'm very focused and driven on what I want. And as soon as the boys, the teams were looking at me at that point, that's all I wanted to do. And I went a backwards way around it to get to where I did, but that's all I wanted to do.
Sorry, I'm trying to find your goals. Bruce, have you got them instead? Because all I'm doing is breaching GDPR rules and throwing Jim's number up on the screen. Which one do you? I've got goal home and away, absolute thunder bastard one.
I've got I've got his first goal for Kidderminster, which was right at the end of the first season, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's when I fractured my cheekbone.
Was it there? Was it?
Yeah. About 25 minutes after that, I fractured my cheekbone. Yeah. But I hope you've got the Torquay goal.
We might just be able to assist with that. Is that the left foot, the left foot rocket from just inside the box? Yeah, we've got that. We've got that. What is it, Alex? Is it video file or share screen?
Share your screen, mate, because I tried to do that and I just pulled up the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I can do that. All right, hang on then.
There you go. I've got you. There you are.
Yeah, I just need. Oh God.
That's a bit.
Right.
I'll remove how the sausage works, and then how the sausage is made. Yeah. But what was it like moving across from Stockport? Because the teams had a similar trajectory at the time, and sort of similar sort of size and makeup. I don't know, where was Stockport at the time when you moved across? Were they were the sort of similar league, weren't they?
No, Stockport was still in League One. They changed management from Carlton Palmer to Sammy McElroy. Sammy and I didn't get along. Sammy wanted his players, he didn't want me. I was requirements. They tried to get rid of me to Accrington Stanley, who were in the Unibond Premier at that time, and I said no. And then obviously Russell called and said, "Would you like to come and have a look at what we're trying to do here? Potentially being a part of the upward spiral, as you like." And then that was it, really. I sorted out my deal with Stockport, and I moved across quite quickly.
Were you in digs, Rob, or what did you do in that first year? You said you bought a house in the second year. Did you stay over, or did you commute, or what did you do?
No, the initial probably, I'll say first 2 months, I stayed in the B&B at the top of the hill, which wasn't ideal. Living out of a suitcase and a bag is not perfect. But then my house was ready probably 2 or 3 months before the end of the season. So I threw myself into lock, stock and barrel because I didn't sign a 1-year deal, and I'd sold my house back home. I'd gone across. I think that's when it really dawned on me that you've got to get your finger out here, Rob, because otherwise you're going to find yourself in Grimsby without a club. And because the way the first season went, you were going to struggle to get anybody where you really wanted to go. So I think the fact that you've worked so hard to get out of your semi-pro football into professional football, it dawns on you that it's very easy to go back into where you came from if you haven't got yourself sorted. So no, I moved across. Lived next door to a lovely family who looked after me when I was on my own, and then obviously my wife came across the part-time part of the week, which is great. And then I just create that balance. The balance, was right, and obviously if the balance is right off the pitch, then you get you get your rewards on it.
Brilliant. Right, I've got the first goal, Alex, which is a Kidderminster away.
Oh yeah, that was Guys, it doesn't feel like yesterday.
I'm not sure that was a tremendous delivery. It's just a lofted ball into the box, isn't it? Look how high it is.
I think that Maka put it in the box.
Most probably.
I'm not being funny, but it's a great header though. It is a great header.
I think that's probably Grit stood about 2 yards out, waiting for the keeper to save it and parry it to his feet, wasn't it?
Aye, potentially, aye.
I'll tell you something. Rob on the end of one of these Jordan Cropper throws would be a lethal combination.
A centre-back pairing with Luke Waterfall, but I'm not.
Yeah, God.
Right, let me just find the other one. While we've got this on, and then I can turn it off then. I think this is the one you're talking about, Rob.
Yeah. It's the one I tell my two boys about, and they just laugh at me that say you haven't got the technique to do that.
Where is it? I'll send it to you as well.
Oh. Hang on, let me just, I don't know why that went a bit funny then.
Oh, it's a long ball again. Is that Maka? That's the one.
You broke the net. I assume they billed you for it, didn't they?
I think they were more surprised that I scored that they just left me alone.
I think that one's worthy of a second playing.
Just double checking if you actually had a goal bonus on the contract.
No chance. No chance. There's a story when I went to Hibs about goal bonuses.
Go on then, if you can. We would love to hear it.
So the deal was getting done. And there was a clause in the agent tried to put a clause in there about goal bonuses, and then they tried to put a clause in about clean sheets. And he said, "I'll give you a clean sheet bonus and your goal bonus if every time you concede, you pay me."
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I just left that one alone.
That's a good counter.
That was in the first season with Anthony Williams, was it?
Yeah.
No. That's brilliant. I do like that though. That makes someone
very, very savvy, Mr. Petrie. He was very savvy indeed.
That's a good, I guess one of the questions we asked is sort of when you'd moved to Hibernian, is there a difference at the time between the standard of SPL compared to League Two? I imagine I've always thought it'd be at a higher standard to what you were playing at Town.
Yeah, it was a higher standard. Obviously, you don't play against Rangers and Celtic every week, and the standard that they're playing and the standard of players that they had there. But I think, being brutally honest, it was easier for me because I'd come back. I'd gone up after the playoff final, so we'd already trained for 2 weeks. Then I had 10 days once I was sold to find a house, move my wife and Ethan, my youngest boy, up. I was only 6 weeks old at the time, and to get back in it. And then when we got up there, I was straight in the games because we had a European Cup tie to play. So it was just seamless. So it was. I didn't have time to reflect. I didn't have time to probably let my body rest and then start pre-season again. It was just straight at it, and I think that was the most positive part for me, was not to think about it too much, just get back on the football pitch and do what I did for the previous season for this next one. So, and then obviously the season that I went up there another again, it couldn't go any better. But yeah, it was different. The game was probably a little bit quicker. It was a little bit more technically savvy up there at that point. But I think that the big thing that helped me was the lack of midweek games. So obviously down here, where you go Saturday, Tuesday, it's just relentless. Where up there, very rarely would you play a Saturday, Tuesday. You'd get one in a cup every now and again, but you wouldn't play a great deal of league games during the week. So you were able to recover fully and then get ready for the next week. So I think that was really important for me when I went up there, being an unknown really to Scottish football. But then on the flip side of that was what made it really difficult when I came back down again, because my body had been tuned to play Saturday, Sunday, and then I couldn't recover. I couldn't recover to play the Tuesday, Wednesday. It took me probably about 5 or 6 months to retune my body into being able to recover and go again.
That's really interesting, actually. I've got to ask, what was it like scoring the winner for Hibs in the League Cup against Hearts?
Well, that was actually a Friday night game. That was John Collins' first game in charge. And we talk about local derbies and players knowing what it means and all this kind of stuff. And I'm sorry, but unless you're a fan of either club, you don't understand what it means. You have no idea what it means to these supporters that where they go to work the next day and brag about this, and it's their life as a whole. We have absolutely no idea. But you're told about it and you read in the papers and whatnot, and the rumor goes around the dressing room that it's a really difficult and pivotal time for supporters and fans alike and all that kind of stuff. So you do become accustomed to it, and also you do become ingrained in their mentality. But it was nice to score another volley, a bit close at that time though.
Yeah.
It was another volley. And so it was lovely to score against them at Easter Road. It was brilliant. Obviously progressing into the next round of the cup, but no, I think like every footballer, you just love scoring goals and winning games, and that one was no different.
Didn't have to buy a pint in Edinburgh for a couple of weeks after that, surely.
I think I ate out for free for a few weeks after that one. But yeah, I think because I was there for 3.5 years, you become accustomed to the pure hatred of the two clubs, and I still refer to them as them over there. I don't refer to them as their name, and it's probably just ingrained in me now that you have a dislike for them because of who you played for.
Have you been back to see any of your former teams play lately? You been and watched anybody?
Not this season. Last season, I went to a few games up at Hibs. I did a few Sheffield Wednesday games. I did a Doncaster game. I haven't been as close to the seafront to do a Grimsby game for quite a while. But right now, I'm just crazy busy. So Saturdays are my busy days. Sundays are my relentless days with coaching and games. So I very rarely get out to watch games at the moment, which is it's sad in a little sense. But every now and again, I get a phone call or a text message that invite me up to a game, and I go up. I take the two boys, and we watch the game, and it's lovely to be in the crowd and watching games when you're not under that crazy amount of scrutiny and pressure. I
think we obviously you've watched from afar of what's gone on in the last 15 or so years with Grimsby, and the club hopefully now is on an upward trajectory again. So I think one of the things that we do need to work on as a club, and I think the Mariners Trust have sort of involved a little bit, is former players and having a bit. I think we need some sort of former players club, if you like, or whatever you want to call it. Because the fans
it's the Broadly WhatsApp group, isn't it?
Yeah. The fans always like to see somebody come back and have a wander around the pitch and wave at half time and do the draw, and a lot of the time the play, like you say, it's nice for the players to be invited back and be fondly remembered as well.
Under Holloway, you'd have been asked to bring your boots to be perfectly honest.
That was a difficult time, wasn't it?
Have you been surprised that the club has sort of, that's the highest we've been now since? Are you surprised that that's the case, or could you see other clubs sort of overtaking Town as they sort of not sat still, I guess, but weren't moving as quickly as others?
Went backwards, I think is the word you're looking for.
It's a difficult one because when I was there, in 2004, I think it was 2004, 2005, yeah, they was talking about moving to the new stadium at Greycoats back then.
Any day now.
Yeah, any day now. And it was all ready to go, and we were selling this and selling that, and it was on the upward spiral. And then 2 weeks later, you'd find someone tell you that it's not happening, and this is moving here and moving there. I think the last time I came across was I was interviewed for the 18s coach's job, and then I didn't take it in the end. I moved where I was, and that was probably about four and a bit years ago now. But no, I think you can't be surprised in football because nothing should surprise you because there's so much that happens. Saddened a little bit, yes. Surprised, no. It's probably the most pivotal point where football, you can never predict what's going to happen tomorrow. You can never predict the weekend's games. You don't really know what's going to happen. You can always have an inkling of this might happen, that might happen, but you never ever know. You never know what's going on behind the scenes as a player and as a supporter. You never know the ins and outs of absolutely everything. So I think collectively you've got to take responsibility of one, where the club actually went to, and then collectively the responsibility is where the club's actually bouncing back to at this present moment in time. So for me, I live my life by you can't affect the past. You can only influence the future. So for me, we look forward now, and what's happened in the past is gone. Hopefully, the people that were in the right positions at the right times learn from that and make sure that never happens again.
I think that's quite sort of like you say, it's a good attitude to have, and we've spent a lot of time dwelling on the past and things like that because the present up until recently hasn't been very good, and I think that season that you talked about where we didn't quite make it and we lost to Cheltenham at Cardiff was a bit of a sliding doors moment because for quite a few seasons after that, it was what if we hadn't, not performed on that day. And do you think is there any? We've spoken to a few players about that game and how we'd beaten Cheltenham I think twice that season already. I certainly went to the away game. We absolutely trounced them 3-0 on a Friday night. But we just didn't. Can you put your finger on what went wrong in that final? And apart from the fact that we didn't win,
I think if I'm being brutally honest, the build-up didn't help. I know in hindsight everything's easier in hindsight. So when we travelled down, because we travelled down 2 days early, so we travelled down and then we went to the stadium the night before I think it was a League One playoff. So we walked on the pitch and seen all what was there. Then we attended the playoff final the day after, and then the day after that we played. And for me, that takes the shine off that arena, if you know what I'm saying. Yes, it was a playoff final, but it takes the shine off that arena. And for me, in hindsight, I would rather have just turned up to the game, took the passion from what was in the arena, took the probably uncertainty that was in the arena at the time, and then just played the game. So from my point of view, I'd have rather not gone to have a look around like a tourist, then go and watch a game as a supporter, and then go and play a game. I'd rather just go and play the game. But that's all in hindsight, isn't it? It's one of those things. Because when I played, and I played a little bit. When I played, there's you get all these players who go and stand on the pitch before the game and read the programme and have the music on. Not once did I do that. Never in my entire career. Not once. As soon as I got in the dressing room, that was me. I wasn't leaving the dressing room until it was time for warm-up. I had no interest in what the stadium looked like, what the grass was like. Didn't care. I was just going to do the same thing over and over again. So for me, I probably committed the cardinal sin of going and standing on the pitch on the 2 nights before, go and sit in the stand the day before, and then play.
Yeah, but a bit of a distraction as well, maybe. That, like, you know, focus away a little bit, perhaps. But well, we are where we are now, and like I say, you know, hopefully for all of us, the club's heading in the right direction.
Yeah,
But,
it's a different world.
We've got a few questions that we've had in. One that I quite like. Your thoughts on a couple of your former teammates. Firstly, Ashley Sestanovic, and secondly, the Frenchman Thomas Pinot.
So Ashley Sestanovic had all the ability in the world. He was powerful. He was quick with the ball. He had a trick. He could put it in top bins if he felt like it. He was difficult to get off the ball. He was aggressive. And on his day, as he showed at times at home games, he was unplayable. But then he had the other side. And that's probably well documented, the other side of it. So
was there a game where he said no to being a sub, or is that just a town rumor and he walked out?
So the diplomat in me said, if you're asking that question, you already know the answer.
It's an interesting one. I guess you spoke about Pinot, Bruce, because I thought Thomas was the same as well. He was quite cultured, had a decent delivery. Did you guys get to hear the interview from the Notts County game from Slade? If not, I'm sure we can dig it out. But
no, I don't think so. But going on Thomas was gifted, really gifted. He was a player, and he liked to play the game his way and only his way. So he liked to get in the ball, he liked to move it, get the ball, and be involved in almost everything. And Thomas was very good, very, very good. But for me, he didn't fit into a League Two side at that specific moment in time. I think I'd probably envisaged Thomas playing high League One or lower Championship with a side that loves to play football and keep it tippy tappy, and that's the way he was. But lovely guy, really nice guy. But he's probably was shoehorned into a team that probably wasn't catered for him.
Yeah, he probably didn't do the ugly League Two side, did he, of things, and the defensive side. They don't get away. You don't get away with being carried in. You know, not many managers will accept you not. You know, we've got players they talk about at the minute that don't do enough of the dirty stuff. Yeah,
it's a difficult one because you bring players in to play the way you want to play, but you have to. There's two sides to every game. You've got to play with the ball and without the ball. And as many players that in front of me, if you don't run around, you get the short, sharp shrift. So he got that a couple of times. But no, lovely guy, lovely footballer. But I think for Thomas, he had his own way of playing.
I did find it, Bruce. I found a tiny clip of Slade going apoplectic.
I've got it. Do you want a little bit of it?
Yeah, you go.
You keep talking, and I'll see if I can find it.
Yeah, of course. It was an interesting time. There was so many. I hadn't felt that excited about a town team for quite a long time. There was quite a lot of energy, and it felt really weird. But things like the club was sponsored by Nike. We didn't know it was the Sunday League version of the shirts, and it was all quite a bit of are you ready, Bruce? I saw you come up, but I was buzzing because I don't think you played in the game against Darlington, did you, Rob? Sort of the first game back in League Two, but it was we were all over them, weren't we, Bruce? Was that their first game of the season?
The first game, yeah, I think you did. You said you played in the first two games of that first season, Rob, didn't you?
That was it.
Yeah, I think I played in the first.
We were really unlucky. We were really unlucky at Darlington that first game under Russell Slade. It was a good performance considering, like you say, so many players had come in.
Oh, it was an exciting dressing room to be in. We'd had a running fitness coach brought in the summer who put us through our paces, and it was proven to be a masterstroke by Russell because we were fit, we were strong, we were powerful. In that summer, we'd also gone to the army camp in Cambridge, which was enlightening. to all of us, brought us all together, and that was probably one of the most pivotal parts of that season, and how that season went really well, because we were up at 6 every morning, marching around this army barracks, doing all sorts of different things that were completely out of our comfort zone, being told what to do by some sergeant major who was louder and taller and wider than me. And he was a very angry man, so he just did what he said. But that brought us all together. We slept in, I think it was one room in bunk beds. So you talk about all these footballers who, like the Parkies and the Reddies, that have played at higher levels than we have, and been in many, many places, and we're all in sleeping bags on bunk beds. So it was a difficult start, but it's something that we became accustomed to and got used to, and I think that galvanised the whole squad. And as you see, you saw that season, it proved to be a masterstroke again by Russell.
We've got some great photos of that trip. I think Justin Whittle was just perfectly at home.
Oh, very much so. Justin didn't want to leave when we got there. He brought all his gear, knew exactly what to do, how to tie his boots up, how to do everything. Justin was well at home with all that kind of stuff. But no, yeah, I think that group was completely different to the group from the previous year for many, many reasons. And that little, I think it was 5 days away, which felt like 100 days at times, but it was 5 days away, and it was invaluable to us.
Brilliant. Right, Alex, you ready?
Yeah, you go for it, because it's. I don't know if Rob hasn't heard this. It's quite funny.
I won't play the full thing, but we'll get the gist.
No, we won't. Oh, you've got to press. Have you got to press the audio bit at the bottom?
Oh, if you're sorry, mate.
That's all right. Is there an audio option?
Did you not get the commentary on that first one then?
No, the commentary was on that. Oh, no, it might not have been. No, it wasn't. Sorry.
Okay, hang on then. Let me just go back to...
One moment, please.
This is,
well,
this
I
is
guess...
slick BBC stuff, this.
Don't worry. This is every Zoom call since 2020. It's lots of you're on mute.
Yeah. Where's the audio then?
Usually when you come in, it's not. So it's
hang on, let me try share. Hang on, let me just stop sharing and share again. Sorry, Rob. This is
that's all right.
Right, let's share again, and we'll share the audio this time. There we go. Right, we're in.
Have you got it? Good, man. It's not going to be worth it now. This is like a long lead up to a joke that never.
Right, you ready?
Yes, Johnny, Russell slide. Russell, well, it's a draw, but it must feel like a defeat.
Well, it does, John, because it's the most one-sided game that we've had away from home for a good while, and arguably we could have been 4 or 5 goals up. The only 2 shots that Notts County's offered were absolutely spectacular by Stephen Oakes, and they got out of jail, to be honest.
But are you looking at your keeper again, particularly for the first of those free kicks?
I tell you who I'm looking at, the Frenchman. The Frenchman was an absolute disgrace when he went on.
He gave away the free kick, didn't he?
Gave away the free kick. He gave away the ball all over the pitch. He never got tight to anybody. It was an absolute disgrace.
Does that mean he's on his way?
Was that John, don't ask me questions a lot like that. Would you put him on his way today? Let me ask it you. Would you put him on his way?
I thought he played poorly.
Poorly? It was a disgrace.
Let's talk about the good things in the game. I mean,
that's probably just normal. But yeah, that's just the dressing room.
Russell was one of those. He didn't mince his words. You knew exactly where you were with him, and that's why we all got along with him to a point. He had his funny side, but then he had his serious side. But everybody knew where they were with Russell. What was
the build up like to the Spurs game? I guess because at Town, that's probably the moment that stands out, was it?
Oh, very much so. Apart from what did they bring in? They brought in green seats, which obviously I know that green's not the favourite colour there. So
don't worry. I mean, don't go there at the moment, Rob. it's the talk of the town. They're trying to find them as we speak.
So to be fair, it was. We knew that there was an atmosphere in and around the ground and the town as a whole, that there was excitement building and whatnot. And I remember we did our build up, the pre-build up the day before on that we did on the pitch, and Russell brought his tactics board out like he did, and he had their starting 11 on the piece of paper. And to be fair, it was really serious, but then he just cut it, and it became fun and just one of those things, because he said, right, this is what we've got to look out for today. This player, him, and him. And then he turned it over and he went, and there's 6 subs, and you got to look after him and him and him and him and him. So it's one of those where he just basically said, listen, come, enjoy it, stay together, do what you can for as long as you possibly can. It's going to be really tough because these are all top Premiership stars or top international footballers. Do as much as you can for as long as you can. Work as you have worked throughout the season, and then see where that leads us. But I don't think Russell or I or anybody envisaged the night that we had, because I thought we were sensational from start to finish.
Was there a moment in the game where you thought, hang on a minute, we've got a chance here? Like, remember the moment Reddy was put through and lofted it over Robinson, sort of thing?
Yeah, to be fair, there was chances throughout the game. They had a couple towards the end, as you would expect. But I had a chance from a corner. I got above Ledley King. I had a chance I probably should have scored. I think JP Kalala had another chance before he did score. And we were more than matching them throughout the game. I think the duo of Robbie Keane and Jermaine Defoe were in front of us for an awful lot. I think they got in very early on in the game, and I think Millie saved a good shot, but that settled us down a little bit. But I can't really visualize how many real clear-cut chances they had, considering how good their players were. So for us, it was about trying to start well, stay in the game and build on that. And I think, what we did extremely well throughout the first half. Quite enthused by going in at 0-0 at half time. But then it was same again. And then obviously they brought Lennon on, didn't they, late on? So we were all absolutely knackered. Gary Croft is playing at fullback, and he ran at him. I've never seen this kid before in my entire life. And he ran at him, and I think he'd gone out for a throw-in. And Gary Croft turned around and looked at me and said, "What am I supposed to do with this guy?" Well, Crofty wasn't slow, but this guy, he was lightning, this kid. It was frightening how quick he was. And he said, "Rob, you're going to have to help me." And I've said, "Listen, I can't do it. I can't help you. I've got these two inside me. I can't deal with you as well." And to be fair, I think Lennon got in a couple of times down the outside, but we dealt with the cross with ease. But I just remember the whites of Gary's eyes that say, "Please help me, please help me, please help me."
I think that was coming to the end of the period where the Premier League plays fairly strong sides, wasn't it? Sort of in a few years after that, they played a lot more of the younger players.
Yeah, which, well, you can look at it 2 ways, can't you? The younger players get the chance to go and play and experience that kind of stuff. But when you're a low league side playing the big boys, you want to play against the best players. So it's got a 2-way thing to it. But it's changed now from when I played in the early years, where teams were strong, and it probably meant more to them than trying to get the Champions League and whatnot. So. Because the big boys, that's all they're after now, the Champions League and that top 4 position.
Were you aware in the following round what Justin had done to old Shearer?
Well, I was aware that there'd been an altercation probably 15-20 minutes into the game between the pair of them. Didn't know what it was. Justin, all I remember was Justin wasn't very happy. And when Justin's not very happy, you try and stay away from him. So, and then obviously what happened. Justin to this day still reiterates that it was not any malice or any meaning to it. People can make their own mind up and judgment of that. But it was one of those things. Like I said, these things happen on a football pitch, and for me, if you're prepared to give it out, you've got to be prepared to take it.
I can't imagine what they've been like in a relatively tight tunnel afterwards. I
I think for some people it was a very slow walk down to the tunnel, a very slow walk to make sure Mr. Shearer had got to his dressing room. But no, I did what I always do. I went round and clapped the supporters regardless, and I was probably always the last one in. But there was no fracas or anything in the tunnel, so I'm presuming it all just calmed down.
Rob, just going back to something you said a few minutes ago about Slade getting his tactics board out. I've just noticed that you were on the bench that day at Lincoln, where they were kept on the pitch at half time. Were you brought on? Can you? I mean, you maybe can't remember, but it looks like you came on as sub. You'd missed 2 or 3 games. Did you have to walk onto the pitch, the subs, and all gather around with the players that were out there? Can you remember?
I remember it. I really do remember it, and I was quite shocked that I didn't play. I think, was I suspended? I might have been suspended the game before, and I was quite shocked I didn't play. Even more so, their manager spoke to me after the game, and he said he was extremely shocked I didn't play. But it is what it is. I remember it vividly, and it's not highlighted like the Phil Brown one at Hull, is it? Because of the league that we played in at the time. But he did what he did. He got a reaction. But for me, I was just warming up. I never went anywhere near the board. I never sat down in the middle of the pitch. I just warmed up. And to be fair, before he took the board out, he shouted on the bench, "Get ready, Jonah, because you're going on." And that's all I really took from it. I never got involved in the tactics or anything like that. At half time, I think it was more of a shouting match rather than the tactics match. Tactics at half time. So he did what he did for his reasons, and whether people that think that's right or wrong is perfectly up to them. But I didn't get involved. I just went and warmed up, and then obviously came on at half time.
We've got to check. We've got to check to see if Phil Brown was at that game. There's got to be a good chance that he's taken a note. I'm not sure. We only lost 1-0 in the second half. Is the result he was expecting, but it worked out for him, I guess. What were you going to say, Bruce?
No, I was just reading some of these other questions. There's somebody asking, was Justin Whittle much of an influence on you in your time at Grimsby, or did you feel that you were already sort of quite experienced by that point yourself without, having to? I mean, you always learn from others, don't you? But you were your own man by that point.
No, I think every day is a learning day, regardless of what you do or where you're at. I'm still learning now with regard to the coaching and the game as a whole. Justin was brilliant for me. I knew exactly what his strengths were. He knew my strengths. I knew his weaknesses. He knew my weaknesses. We never really sat down and discussed tactics or all that kind of stuff. I think when you get a defensive partnership like I had with Justin at that point, you just know what each other's thinking, and you know what each other's about to do, which is really, really pivotal and really important. But I never really, I don't copy people. I go away and analyse my own game, my own way. I know the game's changed now, so we've got analysis all over the place. We have about 20 analysis at the Football Club at the moment, and sometimes you don't know where to turn next. But at that time, there wasn't really any analysis done, so you have to go away and probably reflect on the game as a whole. And I never really sat with Justin and talked about the previous games. I never really talked about the games coming up because I knew what I needed to do. I knew where I needed to be. And you become, the more you play with alongside an individual, the more telepathic you become to what they're about to do and what they're thinking and what they're about to say. So for that season, I learned a lot of Justin, but I learned a lot of everybody else. And that was invaluable for when I moved on.
Just thinking about that team, as you alluded to earlier, there were some proper pros in that team, weren't there? Mildenhall, McDermott, you two as centre backs. Crofty had obviously played at the top level. Bolland, Jones. There were a lot of experience, and then you got the sort of the. You got, Gary Cohen was quite young then, wasn't he? He must have nearly given Lennon a race. He was pretty rapid, wasn't he?
Gary was rapid. I remember his goal against Southend away late on in the game when Mildy threw it to him, and he ran probably the full length of the pitch and no one could catch him. And he scored, and I think we won the game 2. I think it was either 2-0 or 2-1. No, Gary was again. Gary came out of probably nowhere. No one really knew who he was. Russell found him, and he was pivotal in the second half of the season. Like you're saying, pace scares people, and he had it in abundance. I think Mum and Dad were Olympic athletes or something at the 200 meters or something like that. So, but he was also a lovely guy, a lovely kid, desperate to work hard, desperate to do well, desperate to learn, and he fitted really well into our ethos and our group.
I guess the question I've got as well is, I hope you weren't on the end of any of these Michael Reddy pranks we keep hearing from absolutely everyone else.
Michael Reddy stayed as far away from me as possible.
The one we heard that was I don't know who was it. Was it from Macca who said that he would occasionally use Russell Slade's number with women on a night out?
If Macca says that, then it must be true. But no, he's never done anything. He never did anything like that with me. I think if you speak to Michael, I think Michael was scared of me, to be honest.
I think that sounded like the safest way to be, if I'm being honest. keep him away from you. What were you going to ask, Bruce?
No, this is good. This is good. Speaking about the people we've spoken about, this is a good one.
Oh, go on then.
I'm just going to do it. Hang on. It's all ready. Literally.
Which player would you least like to go out with your sister?
Michael Reddy.
And they were good buddies too. They were good mates. They used to share cars then too. So he's a very good judge of a character.
That's terrifying. I mean, what was the other ones that we came through? There's quite a few that came. Let's have a look. I didn't know anything about the question about Terrell Forbes, Bruce. Was that a thing? I can't remember anything like that. Can you?
Yeah, he'd been involved in. We maybe didn't ought to go into it. He'd been involved.
Yeah, of course.
A bit like Clayton McDonald, I think.
Oh yes, of course. I'd forgotten about that. I was mixing him up with Adrian Forbes. I was like, I don't think those two crossed.
Adrian Forbes scored a belter at Barnet, didn't he?
He did score a belter at Barnet, always offside otherwise. But
I like Richard Young's. Richard Young's not a question, but he says, "Can you thank Rob for buying me and my mates a drink in Tiger in Newcastle after the Darlington game was called off?"
I remember. I don't remember buying the guys a drink, but I remember the Darlington game got called off because we were already there, and it got called off late. I think it was. So we'd already had our Christmas night out sorted. So we were going from Darlington to Newcastle. So we ended up just going straight to Newcastle, and that was it. So yeah, tell me if I ever see him again, he owes me a drink in return. But I can't remember a thing about it.
No, well,
I can't imagine that team in Newcastle. There's a lot of town players heading to Sinners or somewhere like that in that place. Oh, sorry, Bruce. I thought you were going to ask another.
No, there's a mention of Glenn Downey. Did he want you out the side after his stuff of legends at Wrexham? We've got a bit of a Glenn Downey's a bit of a mythical character in these parts.
Well, Glenn and I played together at Gateshead for a little while. Then Glenn left and went to Scarborough. That's where he first became known to Russell. Obviously, Russell came from Scarborough across the way. But yeah, Glenn played in the same team as me at Gateshead a few times. But yeah, I think the finish at Wrexham, I think warranted him to play more games and more regular. I think he got frustrated at some point of not being able to play regularly in the first team. But great guy, really lovely guy. But no, we got along really well.
You've talked a little bit, Rob. Sorry, Alex. You've talked a little bit about how your weekends are busy and stuff. Where are you now, and what sort of what you're doing with yourself now, job wise?
I'm in Middlesbrough, so I'm full time in there. I work with 13s, 14s. I do a little bit with the 15, 16s, 1 day a week, and then when I'm in early, I go down and have a look at the 18s. So no, I'm really happy. It's 20 minutes from home, which is great, and it gives me an opportunity to hand over my experiences and my knowledge to the new up and coming potentials, and it's great. It's great. I just love being on the grass. You cannot ever replicate playing, but the coaching side of it is the second best.
It is nice if you can stay in the game, definitely.
Well,
We've sent you. I just muted Rob then, but I don't know why. I was going to say, don't worry, we've sent you the Torquay goal, so you can at least show them as well if they don't believe you.
Well, as soon as I finished here, my youngest Joseph, who thinks I can't volley the ball, I scored. How many headers did you score in your career, Dad? A lot. How many volleys? Oh, 2. No, you never. No, you never. So sometimes he knows me too well.
Are there any stories that you hoped would have come up that we haven't asked you? I know that's kind of how long's a piece of string, but is there any particular moment at town that stands out that you quite like talking about? Or
I think when I was there, and obviously I can talk about it now. When I was there, there was an awful lot of media attention in the second season when things were going really well about the contract situation. And I wasn't one who spoke at the end of the season. I was one that spoke to the club in, I think it was November, December. They came to me and asked me if I wanted to have a sit down and a chat about extending my contract, because I mean, brutally honestly, I was on probably a third of some of the players in that squad who couldn't even get on the pitch. So I felt that the way I was playing and what I was doing warranted a discussion at least. And then I went in and they offered me the most derogatory amount pay rise possible. So that was me. I said thank you for your offer, stood up my chair, walked out, shut the door, and that was me. That was done. And all I wanted was, I wasn't greedy. I've never been greedy in my whole life. I have my worth, as everybody else does, but I'm not greedy. I won't penny pinch here and there. But for me, all I wanted was parity with some of the other players out with the football club. That's all I wanted. I didn't want to be the biggest earner. I didn't want all this money flashed all over the place. I didn't. All I wanted was parity with players that couldn't even get in the team. And they couldn't come anywhere near that. And that left a really bitter taste in my mouth, to be honest, because yes, first season it didn't go well. The second season, I was playing well, and I knew I was playing well. And I had agents trying to contact me all over the place about going here, working with this guy, this and that, and I wasn't interested. I was there to do a job, and I was there to be faithful to Russell after he was faithful in the summer. And then I sat around the table with the 3 guys, and it was a complete and utter waste of time.
I notice of no sympathy to you whatsoever, but it's a story that is echoing through the tenure of the ownership at the time, from player to player. It's so sad, and you can tell if you say it was just one season, you played one season here, and people still speak about you in such high regard that it shows exactly what your worth was like off the pitch at the very least.
No, it's when you go to a club and you have to dive in both feet. If you dangle your toe, you won't be there very long. And I think I showed that I was someone who jumped in but with both feet and a little bit more. And I think you endear yourself to supporters when you play with passion. You play with pride and you play with commitment. And I didn't want rewarding for that. They came to me. I didn't go to them asking for more money or this, that, and the other extension of my contract. Never once did I instigate a meeting. They instigated the meeting and the consequences behind it. But no, it was just a waste of time. Me walking from one side of the pitch to the other to get to the ridiculous amount of money that offered. Probably wouldn't even get me around in Tiger for them 2 guys, to be honest. So that's how bad it was.
I think that just sort of sums up, you know, the thinking at the time and the way that the club sadly operated for a period after that, that it was short-sighted, because if they'd have offered you a fair wage, you know, you'd have probably signed it. If you'd have carried on playing the way you were playing, the club would have earned a decent windfall, probably in a transfer fee within a year or 18 months anyway. And that you know goes back to the start of the conversation about how the club, you know, fell and continued to fall when we thought we couldn't go any further at that point.
Yeah, it's not about me and what I thought I was worth. It was about me understanding what the club felt about me as an individual, and what they felt I brought to the club as a whole. And obviously, with the offer that they gave, not a lot. So that doesn't, as an individual, make you sing and dance. It makes you question what you're actually doing and why you're doing it. When the people that are making all decisions and in the end of the day, the people that you're actually working for don't see the value in you as an individual.
Yeah, I think you can safely assume from, like Alex said, from what the other players have said, that was the old dating breakup. It's not me, it's you, and it certainly wasn't you.
Yeah, well, it got out in the press, and I think they tried their very best to try and mute me as much as possible. And I can't remember the guy now who used to do the Humberside radio. Can't remember his name now. And he
John Tonder.
Yes. So he said to me, I shouldn't ask you this question because I've been told I'm not allowed. However, I'm going to word it in a way where it'll lead you in to answer the question for all the fans, because they all want to know what's going on. So I'd been muted, not put in individual conversation with me to say you can't talk about this, can't talk about that. I think people around that in the media and the press were told you can't talk to Rob about this, you can't ask him about that, which I thought was really poor, to be honest, because then they're flipping it over and blame it. It's like I was getting the blame for not signing a new contract or not agreeing a new deal, when that wasn't the case whatsoever. The case was that I didn't feel valued by the people that in the power at the football club. It's as simple as that. My point across to say all I wanted, because I think a little bit like, well, is he being greedy? Is he wanting too much money? Is he wanting too much this? No. All I wanted was parity. That was it. If I had got parity, I'd have signed a longer term deal. And yes, you're probably right. I would have been sold, but I would have been sold for an awful lot of money than what I was sold for.
And it's the thought process behind it is the idea that players don't talk to one another. If you go to Hibs or you went to Wednesday, Donny, especially Wednesday in Doncaster, teams relatively close, and they go, look, hey Rob, you were at Grimsby, I've been offered an offer. What would you say? You can't say a kind word, can you?
No, you can say a kind word about the football club, because it's a lovely football club and it's a family football club. But you couldn't say a kind word about how the club was run at that specific point, and that's probably why each year that I was there was quite a large turnover of players, and it's not just on a whim, is it? There's a reason behind the fact that players are turned over quite rapidly year after year.
I think we need to make this more cheerful, don't we?
Well, all I can say is this: out of all the players we offered contracts to last season, only one didn't take it, and that's because they moved closer to home and they play for Northampton.
So that's a great thing, isn't it? Because it shows that players are happy at the football club, players are feeling valued at the football club, and players want to play for your football club. And them ingredients bode well, and obviously that's why they're doing what they're doing at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It's either that or we've got some great private investigators and we've got a lot of dirt on a lot of people. It's I've got to think of a positive. I mean, where did you stay when you were here? I mean, we don't need postcodes, but where were you? You live local and stuff, and what did you think of the area? I guess.
Oh, I lived over in Waltham.
Oh, okay.
I was out by the windmill
near the golf club.
I like the countryside and stay out of the way. I don't like the hustle bustle. I don't. But no, obviously, very fond memories of the football club and of the town. My first son was born there, so he's a Codhead. which I keep reminding him of. So no, it's a club that will forever be held in high regard from my thoughts and my family's thoughts, because in essence, I know I went to Stockport first, but it was Grimsby that put me on the map as a player of that stature to warrant people coming in and actually buying me. So I had a lovely time. I did. I really did, and I obviously enjoyed the second season more than the first. Goes without saying. But no, it's such a welcoming football club, such a hotbed for wanting the football club to do really well. And you got the beach right in the end. We used to walk Ethan and the dogs along the beach when we were there. It was lovely. People just left you alone, and I had never any trouble whatsoever. And the only probably downside was what we just spoke about then. The rest of it is all upsides from it. And I still speak to Macca every now and again. I spoke just not so long ago. So I speak to Tom Newey every now and again, Bolly every now and again. So you've come away from there with people that you speak to and you respect. I spoke to Russell about 3 months ago. So for me, it's a real positive in my career. It was a massive learning curve from year 1 to year 2. I got to play against some really good sides. I got to play in some special places, and I probably got to cement myself as a footballer. Obviously, yes, I started at Stockport, but I got to cement myself as a footballer, centre half, within the second year that I was there.
The frying pan is still a cracking chippy in Waltham. Always has been.
The spicy chips, was it? Is it the spicy chips?
It's just a decent chippy.
Yeah.
I'm sure as a professional footballer you weren't in there very often.
Every Wednesday.
And the
Danny North was ahead of him.
Tilted barrel for a pint.
Every Wednesday I was in there.
We need to get you back and get Ethan a football shirt for his hometown club.
He's actually played in the pitch. He's played in the pitch.
Has he really? Oh, brilliant!
So there was a primary schools tournament about, what was he now, 16? So 6 or 7 years ago. So the final was at Blundell Park. So he actually played in the pitch.
Were you showing him around?
I wasn't there. I didn't know. I was away. I was away either coaching or playing or whatever it was. What was it? Yeah, so I must be still playing. But yeah, he's actually playing the pitch. Yeah.
Who'd have thought the last in the family would be your lad to play on it?
He didn't score. He didn't score a volley from 18 yards. I can tell you that.
We'll have to change that, Alex, for the next Broadley game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we just got to
Brilliant.
mix the teams up a little bit instead of having whippersnappers be the more experienced pros, shall we say?
Aye.
Brilliant,
But Rob, it's genuinely been a pleasure. Thank you so much, and we hope to get to see you soon and come back, because it's a different thing. It's a different place. It is completely transformed.
No. It's been a pleasure. It's very easy to talk about football and talk about things that you're deeply passionate about. And I thank you for the invite.
Anytime, absolutely anytime. We'll bring you on to the class of defending or something like that, because there's plenty to go around. Pleasure. Speak to you soon. Thank you.
Mate.
Thanks.
Cheers, Rob.
Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Right, I'll just I'll put Rob on the underneath. I don't know if he'll come back, but we'll end it there, shall we? Oh, he's gone. Fair enough. Well, there you go. How cool was that?
That's good, wasn't it? That's good.
It was a same old story, but it's great to hear that everyone's got so much affection for the place.
It was familiar, wasn't it? Yeah, it was
It
familiar.
certainly was. Well, I think I'm going to Colchester tomorrow. I'm not sure. It's a long old way from Hampshire, even though it's the other side of London. It's about 2.5 hours away. So we'll see. Are you looking forward to tomorrow?
I'm not going, mate. Maisie's got her first game of the season.
Who's she up against?
They're playing Lincoln United.
Got to stuff
not
them.
Lincoln City, Lincoln United, but they're
You still got to make sure you leave a mark.
Tolbar. I've told her she's not allowed in the house if they don't win.
That'd be great, mate. Thank you so much for joining us. I know it's a Friday night, but that was
No worries.
Really interesting.
I'll probably see you on Sunday.
Yeah, absolutely. Speak to you then. And thank you,
Cheers.
everyone, for listening. And we'll speak to you soon. See you later. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.